Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech Podcast series. This is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community, and today we are back here again with another episode of this series, right? And in this entire series, we have been talking through multiple. We have covered so far multiple technologies like that has been there in the market, like Web 3.0, XR, and generative AI, machine learning, LMs, and multiple things. Right? We have been inviting all these industry leaders, startup in the startup ecosystem to learn from their experience. How has been their experience building all these all these ventures? And for today's podcast, we are back here again with another industry leader, Darshil Shah. He brings a phenomenal experience, working in the technical industry, and he's founder and director of TreadBinary Technologies. So we'll try to understand his from his perspective how does the industry 4.0 looks like. So let's get started. And Darshil, for our audience per se, if you could introduce yourself first.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lakshit. Thank you for having me here. And I would really love to express my views on the topic, based on the experience so far in the industry. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Darshil Shah, founder of TreadBinary Technologies Private Limited. I have overall 13 plus years of experience in software engineering across Microsoft, SAP, and open source tech stack. And we are basically 3-year-old company with 50 plus team members, and we are majorly focusing on research and innovation based product development and consulting services. And our major motto is to resolve the industry's perpetual problem statements, yeah, by using appropriate technologies.
Wow, when you have mentioned about 3 years, I was doing my homework for the podcast, right? So I saw that kind of growth that you have achieved in 3 years. That's phenomenal, right? First of all, kudos to you and your team, right? You are doing a really great job, in order
Thank you
to,
so much.
whether it's a client acquisition or I saw some of your, really great projects that you're working on. Now, tweaking a little bit, I just wanted to know, the underlying, the basic story, why you have, working as a in multiple MNCs, and how you came through this thought, starting our own venture. Because at that point of time, right, maybe that's during COVID, right? How you have been, came up, because that time the technology but as was at its peak, right? People was getting overpaid, everything was there, right? There was nothing like at present what is happening. You can see recession and whatnot, right? But at that point of time, everything was going well in the industry. The technical industry was superb at that point of time. So what you saw, how you saw this opportunity, or this was the thought from couple of years that you were taking with yourself, how does the case?
Right. So, in general, Lakshit, I've been always in my mind enterprising nature, and it was starting of my career. I wanted to get into the business or the enterprise in the software industry. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, of course, it is not possible directly to jump into the business without having some product idea or product plan or some kind of plan in place, right?
Right.
So more than 10 years of experience in the industry and majorly into ERP consulting world, me and my partner came across multiple industry problem statements. Yeah, so problem statements like scrap savings. So it has been accepted and taken for granted that 15 to 18% or 12 to 15% scrap will be generated, and that has been factored in the cost, and accordingly the business was happening. But that's
Okay.
where we thought that this can be further optimized. Yeah, we can bring it down to 2%, 3%, 4% of scrap in, let's say, metal cutting industry. And this could really bring in immense or tremendous amount of savings. First, the cost savings, and other than that, it brings in intangible benefit when we talk about the sustainable energy, because if you are able
Okay.
to utilize the material with the maximum yield, then of course that much amount of metal we are saving, right? So
Okay.
that's how we thought that this is really a problem statement. And that's when we did our market survey. We went out to 150 odd customers in defense expo and across multiple expo, and we realized that this is really a problem statement. Yeah, and not only for the bigger companies, but also for the unorganized sector, because
Mhm.
unorganized sector really do not have anything in order to any kind of application in order to optimize their layouts for cutting and so on. And that's when we thought, no, that this is not just in our mind, but it's also there in the industry. And that's where this thought came up, that okay, we should definitely take a chance with this. And when we took this chance, it was like in December 2019, where we thought that okay, we should really go ahead, and we put our papers in March 2020. That's
Yeah.
when the COVID hit. Yeah, and that's how our journey started. Of course, before establishing TreadBinary, we got some investment, that because since both of us were working and having the families, it was really not possible to directly start venture without any funding. However, we got incubated with one of the IT company for 3 months or so, but then the vision were not matching, right? Because we already
Okay.
knew, we did our market survey, we knew that product development is not an easy job that can be
Right.
done 3 or 6 months, and then you start earning revenue. So it takes time. And that's where there were and Yuvraj and I. So Yuvraj is my partner, and we have a very long vision to stay in the industry and not just develop something and then sell it across and then get into something else. So that's where we parted our ways with the investor. And in November 2020, we formed our own organization, TreadBinary Technologies Private Limited, which is bootstrapped. um, and of course, as doing product development needs money, resources, cost, time, effort, everything, and this cannot come automatically. So that's where, in order to sustain as an organization, since both of our background is in ERP consulting, business consulting, process expertise, uh, we started the business in the services vertical as well, where
Okay.
we organically started getting the inquiries that since you guys already know about ERP and the processes and even on the technology front, why don't you take this opportunity? Because there's really a pain point, there's a firefighting scenario. And that's where we saw that okay, there's a good opportunity in the service segment as well, majorly into technology consulting as well as process consulting. And that's where we took up that challenge, and that helped us sustain and also side by side build our product. Of course, it was not deprioritized, but yes, for some time, we need to focus our attention towards the services sector, because that can fund our product. But now we are out with our product commercially launched. We have a good number of customers over there. And on the ERP side, whenever we talk about any enterprise, right, every enterprise will need ERP, enterprise resource planning. And since our majority of the experience is in manufacturing industry, we have been majorly focusing with manufacturing customers. And while we were doing very specific and niche consulting, we also understood that that is not the only problem statement, right? Because of course the processes needs to be standardized and optimized, but then there are a lot of other issues when you talk about the data, right? Because a lot of reporting is required by the management of any particular enterprise, and it's not so easy to get the reports out of such a big ERPs, especially when you don't even know what dynamics are going to come, like what kind of KPIs you should really focus upon to get
Right.
the reports, right? So that's where our process consulting came into the picture. And since we have a team across multiple technology stack, we are also able to bridge the gap between different tech stack which are already part of the enterprise, which
Okay.
which is really a problem statement right now. Because let's say if you have big enterprises would always have multiple tech stack, right? Whether it is Microsoft or SAP, but these technologies do not directly speak with each other, neither do their service providers, right? And And then there's a gap. Then there's a big gap, because customer really is not competent or capable, because that's not their core area. That how this data could be integrated, and what use cases can be made out of it. So that's where we come into the picture, because of the domain expertise as well as with the technology expertise, and trying to bridge that gap.
And how do you see, when we talk about the, because this year 2023 is just over now, right? And we saw a massive growth in the field when we talk about the AI forefront, and especially the generative AI LM model. Though the applications are still very shady. I don't feel like any real time applications that we as an enterprise could deploy. But how do you see the evolution of Gen AI impacting various industry in 2024?
Right, absolutely, and that's also our focus, because so far the applications that we have seen with Gen AI uh, are definitely disruptive in terms of day-to-day life, and very basic use cases that we have seen. But so far we have not seen how it could be really leveraged in the enterprises, right? Because that's where again the industry problem statement comes into the picture, and we are looking at three things when it comes to generative AI. Yeah, one is generative AI is definitely based on how words are statistically related to each other, and they do not really know the meaning of it. Okay, so whatever output that you get is based on the statistics and not the actual semantics of it. So this is one area where context validated generative AI becomes really crucial, and that is also possible with the evolving technology within generative AI, where, let's say, based on statistics, based on the data that has been inputted, it can give you certain outputs based on which you would like to take decisions. But this can go completely wrong or misleading if the data set is not correctly inputted, right? Because this transformers, pre-trained transformers, works on the data, so it depends immensely on the data set. And when we talk about the enterprises and within the closed source LLMs, as we say about enterprises, it really becomes important that the context is validated out of it. So that's one area we are seeing that it is possible, but that is something would be really required. And secondly, if we talk about closed source LLMs, okay, so generative AI for enterprises, it is also possible to build custom LLMs with the data set of within the organization. Okay, so you really don't have to build or leverage the open LLMs, because that data set may not be applicable for the enterprise. So this is something which would be really coming up in 2024, because if this is done, one of the most important use case that we are looking at is generating the reports out of it. Because as I mentioned earlier, uh, it's really difficult to integrate all the data sets across the different applications that we have within the enterprise and get the meaning out of it, right? So if you're able to generate the data based on your pre-trained transformers, then it would be really helpful to generate the KPIs of this particular technology.
Right. And can you share, because you have been very excellent in, the client acquisition part. I just wanted to know what has been your secret sauce, I would say, acquiring these clients and working on those forefront. Because if we see from a global perspective right now, it's very a daunting task, and the companies are not very into investing, or maybe the reliability has something somewhere been disrupted with Indian market, because there is a recession going on in Europe, and we all see the US market is also a bit down, right? It's feeling very low. So how do you see what has been, what's working out with the TreadBinary when we talk about client acquisitions?
Right. So, as we are a very young company, right? So we cannot take projects worth $100 million from end-to-end implementation point of view. So where we majorly focus is on the process consulting and on, let's say, the enterprise architecture of any particular enterprise. How do we get client acquisition is majorly driven organically, because of our experience in last 13 years. We have really good network built. uh, and the area where we are standing out is basically if there is any firefighting or any critical problem statement which is, let's say, not being able to solve by any multinational consulting company. In that case, we are approached, and then we prove our metal, and we deliver whatever the problem statement is. And our major focus is not about resolving the issue or the delivering the requirement, but what we basically do is challenge the business enough to get to the root cause, right? It is very important to ask five whys for any particular requirement that customer asks for. So sometimes we come out very blunt, and customer may not like us in the first interactions, because they may not like our questions, right? They don't want to answer those questions. They are like, this is our requirement, please get it delivered. And we say,
Right.
no, this is not your requirement, tell us the problem statement, and then we give you the solution. So that's our major uh, thing. Yeah.
I feel that comes with an experience, and because if one client is coming to you with that this is the particular requirement and you are saying no, and that's a very maybe I'd say that's something kind of very bravery task. But again, if you're contradicting someone's statement that doesn't comes, that needs a prior experience that you guys have already been there in the market, have been already building these ERP software for 14 years. So maybe that experience is really playing a major role here when you talk about the problem statement, when you deep dive into the problem statement and then you try to solve it, right? That's very great approach. So now, from again just circling back to the generative AI forefront, which sector or maybe which organizations do you see would have in future, maybe from future predictions perspective, will innovate or differentiate their offerings in terms of generative AI, I will say. So is there any particular sector where you see there could be a significant disruption that can occur in the with generative AI?
Right. So what I believe is that generative AI is cross industry, right? It is irrespective of industry, it brings in the technology within it. Of course, our experience is majorly with manufacturing companies, with the education sector, and also some experience in music industry.
Hmm.
Uh, but with the generative AI, as I mentioned, majorly, I would not like to say any specific industry sector, because if used in the right way, specifically when we talk about enterprises, generative AI for enterprises, this can
Okay.
bring huge disruption. Okay, irrespective of the domain, because the problem statement of any enterprise, if you ask again five why this issue, why this issue, why this issue, and you will come to the similar kind of issues, right? The root cause would more or less be similar. Of course, the context would be different, but the root causes are similar, and if those root causes are handled, then it would bring disruption across all the industries.
Okay. Now, when we discuss about some global trends and developments, I just really wanted to know because this term has been of very new, but again very not more than the generative AI, but it has been there in the market. That what is this industry 4.0, and how do you see how is industry 4.0 reshaping the key sectors, especially in the market, when we talk about supply chain, manufacturing, or the services in next year.
Right. So when you talk about Industry 4.0, right, if you see in the current, I mean, across the globe, uh, majority of the companies are not yet into Industry 4.0. They are either at 2.0, 3.0, 3.5, but it's not fully 4.0. When we say 4.0, it's fully digitalized, automated, and so on, right? So if you talk about 1.0, it was just about the electrification where the machines were being developed. Then it came 2.0 with certain intelligence to it. Third, again, the automation part came into the picture. Industry 4.0, where we are talking, where the machines are also speaking with each other, also with their ERP, and generating the multiple dashboards and the reporting and so on. So I believe with generative AI and IoT and all the digital tools and processes that are available, uh,
Okay.
it can bring up a really a revolutionary, disruption. The reason behind this is that, let's say you get the data from your machines. Machines are also speaking with each other. You generate the content which is context validated, and you generate the reports out of it, right? So technologies like IoT comes into the picture, ERP come into the picture, and the platform engineering, where the tools are basically is all about data engineering. So when all this
Right.
comes into the picture, it yeah, it would be really revolutionary.
Now, because we have a lots of questions to discuss, because but due to paucity of time we have to keep it short. But I really want you to answer this question. I saw this really news article that caught my attention, right? That this ISAMRA partners, that you have partnered with ISMARA, right? What is this, and how does this partnership looks like, and what are the I would say benefit, what are the outcomes of for it, and at the same time what are the plans for it?
Right. So we call it as Isamra. Okay, it's Indian
Okay.
Singers and Musicians
Musician.
Rights Association. Okay, so
Oh,
it's a society who basically deals with collecting the royalties on behalf of singers and musicians
okay.
across multiple channels. So it could be radio channels, it could be all digital medias, or it could be international societies. So wherever the songs or the music are being sung or played, uh, the core idea is that the royalty should be also given to the singers and musicians, and not only just to, let's say, music labels and so on, right? So this particular society takes charge of that. Basically, the board of directors are also Anup Jalota, Sonu
Wow.
Nigam, Kavita Krishnamurthy, and so on, and led by the CEO Sanjay Tandon. And basically, they are doing this for a really good cause, wherein not so famous singers or musicians, they get their royalty on time. Yeah, because this was something until now which was not possible. But with this problem statement, if you just imagine the number of songs that are being played uh, across 1 year across multiple platforms are huge. So the data that we are talking about is immense over here. It's quite data intensive topic. And over here, in order to first collecting the royalty is okay, you are collecting the royalty from the channels, which is still in a controlled environment. But those royalty amounts needs to be distributed to the singers and musicians with the right intentions, with the right parameters in place, right? That is the most important part. And if that needs to be done, then every song needs to be mapped with the singers and musicians, and based on whether it's a leading performer, non-leading performer, whether the song has been sung in a prime time, in prime location, or non-prime time, and so on. Based on that, with full transparency, this royalty should be distributed. Yeah, and
Okay.
this is uh, a really time consuming activity,
Yes.
if this has to be done manually, right?
Right.
So
Wow.
that's where TreadBinary comes
Manually.
into the picture to build this particular application for Isamra.
Wow. I really wonder, if when how do they even thought of doing it and entire thing manually, right? So definitely there needs to be some tech involved, right? So again, with this with the and I just wanted to know, it was really nice talking to you with all the generative AI forefront. Any final piece of closing note you would like to share with our industry, with our industrial, all the listeners? So it would be really great.
Right. So, I mean, as said by Napoleon Hill, your only limitation is the one that you set in your own mind, right? So
Wow.
yeah, so basically, just go wild in terms of your imagination. uh, and of course, from our perspective, we should also focus on the industry problem statements rather than just a very generic use cases, so because this would really help the industry to evolve. So that's uh, something from my side.
Yeah, thank you for those closing notes. And to everyone listening to this podcast, I hope you got some insights from a technical leader who has been working in this industry, in this servicing industry, and now he has been building this great product, TreadBinary, right? So we are coming up with lots of initiatives that involves all the tech podcast series in offline, online meetups, and there has been a lot of in pipeline, right? So just stay tuned for more upcoming opportunities. And again, Darshil, thank you for making to this podcast and take out your time. It was really nice interacting with you. It was my pleasure to host you, and looking forward to some more deep dive discussions around tech, especially. And so, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Lakshit, for having me here. Thank you, everyone.